Headline 2021, the Sentinel is released with an amazing new action feature, the non-folding knee. Okay, that's not what this video is about. But it is about the Haslab Sentinel and other Haslab items because they've become a new presence in a lot of collectors' collections, for lack of a better word, and a lot of people are asking specifically why these items can't be sold at retail. And, well, there are multiple reasons for that, and part of it is the size, and a lot of people say, well, if they're big, why can't you just fill them in at all the blank space at retail? I mean, everyone's noticed how empty the shelves are lately. Well, it doesn't quite work like that. Planograms and the items that fit on planograms are worked out years in advance. You can't always just slide something in. But there's a bigger story here, and specifically I want to talk about why these large items can't fit in, especially when we see large items at retail, right? Something like the Razor Crest, which is in retail-ready packaging, feels like it could just slide right into that empty space that we see at retail. And this is especially an issue when we see things like, oh, I don't know, the big $400 Millennium Falcon that was sold at Target last year. After all, this is roughly the same price as the Razor Crest, so if they could have the Millennium Falcon at Target, why can't they just have the Razor Crest? And therefore vis-a-vis the Sail Barge, or the Sentinel, or Unicron, or Cookie Monster? Well, there is a reason for this, and it's due to several factors, and hence why this video is not just 30 seconds long. So let's look at this in depth for a better understanding of larger items and why some can work at retail and some can't, and why comparing the Millennium Falcon from Target to others is not really a fair comparison. Alright, so obviously this item has been a big hit. It's now going for a lot of money on the secondary market. Mostly it was sold at Target.com, but there were units actually brought into retail, and, well, let's face it, a lot of them were sold on clearance or at discount. So the Millennium Falcon is physically smaller than the Sail Barge, but it's about roughly the same size as, say, the Razor Crest, and about the same price. So it feels like a 1-to-1 ratio exchange should work. But to really understand this, well, we have to do a little toy history. So let's dive in and look at that to have a better understanding of why the large Millennium Falcon can go to retail, but a Haslab item like the Razor Crest can't. Alright, so this Millennium Falcon started off as, well, the same Millennium Falcon, but at a different price point and in a different box. A few years ago, roughly 10 plus, it was issued first as part of the Legacy Collection, and then later on in a different box at the same price. Now, it's not the first Millennium Falcon Hasbro has done, and it's not the first modern one. The first modern one was just the original vintage one in a new box with improved lights and sounds. That came out in 1995 as part of the Power of the Force 2 line. And it's not the largest or most expensive Millennium Falcon that's ever been at retail. That prize probably goes to the Lego Falcon, although I don't know if it actually showed up at retail, or if this one was an online only. I should probably do some more research. But as we know, size matters not. It's not always the size of the product, it's how much we like it. So, will a giant Millennium Falcon sell at retail? Yes, sometimes it will, and it has. So if you can continue to sell a giant Millennium Falcon at retail as late as 2020, it should seem vis-a-vis you can sell other large items. Well, let's look at how this was sold. It wasn't sold in aisle. It was sold on an end cap. End caps are very different from in aisle because they're not part of the standard planogram. They're a seasonal planogram, or a seasonal incremental retail space that is actually fought for lack of a better word, by lots of toy makers so they could have this spot. There are pitches made to have end caps, and the winning pitches get the end caps for a certain amount of time. So Star Wars and Hasbro and Target teamed up to have an end cap that was themed Galaxy's Edge, after the Disneyland Star Wars land or zone area. And there was a variety of product available. It ranged from the Black Series to the Vintage Series to Lego to plush. There were different toy categories. They all had the same theme, that being Star Wars plus Galaxy's Edge, and all being available at Target, celebrating, shall we say, Galaxy's Edge. At least that was the public-facing merchandising strategy. And again, you got lots of different categories, lots of different product, but all under the same basic theme, that it was additional Star Wars product available exclusively at Target, even though it had an exclusively at Galaxy's Edge sticker or symbol on it. And that's going to become very important in a moment, so we'll explain. So as part of this program, we had said giant Millennium Falcon that was posed, or rather shot on box to look like it was in Galaxy's Edge, and it came with 2 exclusive figures, Hondo and Chewbacca, and a whole bunch of Porg. Well, they weren't exclusive in the sense that you could get these figures elsewhere, but the combination. And again, it was all themed around Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars world, land, zone that's been built at multiple Disneyland parks around the world, the first being Disneyland in Anaheim, California, where I spent a lot of my teenage years since I grew up in Orange County. Alright, so here's where it gets tricky. We all look at this end cap and say, oh, well, Galaxy's Edge brought us a 2008 toy. The 2020 toy is virtually the same thing. It just has a slightly different paint job. And this proves that Target and or Walmart, big box stores, can sell a $400 toy at retail. And if this proves it, well, then we should be able to sell the Razor Crest. All right, there are multiple reasons why, unfortunately, this doesn't hold water, and that's exactly the point of this video. And again, all I'm offering is the truth. I'm not being positive, I'm not being negative, I'm trying to be neutral, like those guys that Zap Brannigan hates, because information is very important in this hobby, and it helps get rid of a lot of frustration. So first off, the Millennium Falcon was already paid for, and I don't mean the actual units you're buying, I'm talking about the tooling. So the very large upfront cost to produce it, that giant metal tool, which in this case is really giant because it's a huge product and has to go through an injection molding machine. The bigger the product, the bigger the tool. So something little like this fish here has a small tool. Something big like the Millennium Falcon has a big tool. So that tool was made years ago, that investment. It probably cost somewhere up to $500,000. How do I know this? I have made comparable product at other companies that have been roughly this size, and I know how much tools cost because I've managed P&Ls at multiple toy companies. So something giant like the Sentinel that comes strolling into our lives, complete with his non-working knee, well, while it might be large like the Falcon or even larger like the sail barge, it has to be paid for. The sail barge, the Razor Crest, the Sentinel, Unicron, Cookie Monster, those are new toys. Now, it's not just the fact that the tooling has already been paid for. The end cap, the Galaxy's Edge end cap at Target, is not what you think it is. We all look at it and think, oh, well, this is celebrating Galaxy's Edge with a variety of product because it's a new Star Wars content out there, right? The land is sort of content and something to explore, and they're bringing it to retail to celebrate the opening of Star Wars land so that we become aware of it. Well, yeah, not really. We're looking at the data a little bit incorrectly here. So yes, the product is all themed Galaxy's Edge, but that is a misreading of the information. Very much like...
Belloc staff is too long. They're digging in the wrong place.
Alright, so it's a common, known, uncommon fact that Disneyland, all of the Disney lands, worlds, Tokyos, Parises, have exclusive merchandise for the parks. And sometimes this is because it's themed for a specific ride and it's celebrating the ride. Any ride you get off of, you're pretty much dumped into a gift shop and you can buy t-shirts and posters and knickknacks. But there's also high-end merchandise that's available only in the parks, and it can be themed for different characters and different IP. And it's become very collectible over the years because it's only available at the parks. And there are people who seek out products and merchandise specifically because they're Disneyland or Disney World or Disneyland Tokyo, etc., merchandise exclusives. And Star Tours, which was the pre-Galaxy's Edge Star Wars thing at the park, has had a lot of exclusive merchandise. And now that Galaxy's Edge has opened up, it's only increased the amount of Star Wars exclusive merchandise that's only available in the park. And it ranges from the highly collectible to the highly goofy, no pun intended. But all categories, different product types, everything from figures to shirts to plush to soft goods, well, even prop replicas are exclusive to the park now. So with Galaxy's Edge, we have more real estate dedicated to the Star Wars brand, hence more Star Wars exclusives in the park. Alright, now let's look at what happened in 2020. And I'm talking about this little guy here, right? We're all familiar with Mr. Coronavirus. Now, what did Mr. Coronavirus do to the world in 2020 besides, well, unfortunately did a lot of things. Actually, I shouldn't turn this into a joke, but one of the things it did to Disneyland was closed it. So Disneyland, Disney World, etc., and Disneyland longer than the others, was closed the longest, but they were all closed for a large period of time. Empty parks means there's no one visiting it, means no one's buying merchandise. The merchandise that we were buying at Target was not designed for Target. That's the big aha moment. It was diverted. It was a last-minute solution because this was product that was designed to be sold at Disney's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge lands, plural, but because they were closed, well, not everything goes according to plan. They had all this product sitting in a warehouse and suddenly said, oh, we can't sell this at Disneyland because, oh, I don't know, Disneyland is closed. What is open? Target is open. So let's create an end cap at Target and we can just move the product that was designed to be sold in the parks and sell it at Target stores because Targets are open, because that's how some of the Corona rules work, what could be open and what wasn't. So in the end, all of this merchandise was meant to be like other exclusive merchandise at the parks. So yes, we've had the Millennium Falcon at retail before, but we got it at retail in 2020, not because it was designed for retail, but because of coronavirus shutting down the parks and closing them off as an option. So saying that the Hasbro PROVES Haslab items could arrive via retail because the Falcon did, well, it's not looking at the whole picture, and it's looking at things kind of through, fuzzy windows. You have to understand this was a diversion last-minute option.
Oh, it's a donkey!
I hope looking at the full picture helps and is a good understanding of why Haslab product can't just be shipped to retail. There's a lot of reasons, and 2020 had a lot to do with why we got some big items because of what happened in 2020. A retail home had to be found for items that otherwise couldn't be sold. Like this video, comment on this video, all that stuff, and I hope you enjoyed it. I always comment back. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.